running, but I think this is the last wine, and it will be a good wine. So let's wait for it. Usually, when I have time sessions with my farmers, we have a drill just to make sure everyone is awake. If I say aho, you say ahoya. Aho? Oh, this is too low. Aho? Aho? Great. So on this panel, we are exploring the theme, Making Finance Work for Agribusiness, Innovative Financing Systems in Agribusiness. We have a few people who will be joining me here on the panel. Shall we welcome Madame Audrey Abakah from Absa Bank, please? We will also welcome Mr. Sydney Kofilotto. Please, let's give him a hand. Dr. Henry Alhassan from EXIM Bank. Okay. Madame Hamdiva Ismaila from the Ghana Venture Capital Trust Fund. Please, let's give it to her. Please, let's clap till she gets here. Thank you. Dr. Christian Jahn from GIZ. Please, let's clap for him as well. And then we have Dr. Frimpong from Development Bank Ghana. Please, let's welcome him as well. Okay, I think I'll pass this on you. Oh, this, okay. Then Hamdi, you could have that. Hi, so, aho? Aho? Great. As we said, we are going to figure out how we can make finance work for agribusiness. And I'm going to go through the panel. I'll not let them introduce themselves because we want to go deep into the issues, okay? But once I pose the question, they can talk about themselves for just like 30 seconds, 10 seconds, and then you could go on to answer the question, all right? So I'll start off with, we don't have Dr. Alhassan here, but let me start off with Dr. Frimpong. Yes, Dr. Frimpong, I think throughout the session we've been hearing about funding, right? And from suppliers of finance points of view, there are risks involved in financing agribusiness. Can you share with us what the perceived risk and actual risk for financing agribusiness in Ghana is?
Well, I guess I would put the question another way. How are we not financing agriculture? Because I think from the latest central bank data that I saw, just about 4% of private of credit to the private sector goes to agriculture. So the question is, why are we not financing agriculture? And I think oftentimes we are looking at financing. And some work that we did at DBG showed that about 75% of all the DFIs who are putting money in agriculture, they are in the production area. But you know, when you look at the value chain in agriculture, production is just one part of it. Then you have to address the issue of aggregation. And then you have to address the issue of value addition before you move on to the point where you make the sales. So the question is, why are we not getting this done? And I think, you know, money has no passport. It goes wherever it is welcome. So unless, in my view, we begin to address the structural issues that are within the agriculture sector, you are not going to get a profit maximizing bank to put money in agriculture. Because what if I give the money, you take the money, you produce, and you still have 20% or more of post-harvest losses? Why do I have to put my money there? What if You even have a whole big area. Take, for example, the poultry sector. Why do they have to go ahead doing poultry when they cannot find enough supplies of maize and soya, which is very critical to get the poultry thing going? They are not going to put money in, so we'll continue importing chicken to the tune of $600 million a year. So I think that the question ought to change. What are the structural changes required to make agriculture, agribusiness, a real business where we don't see a farmer, but we see a business person, where a farmer would not have to plant and then sweat to market and all of that. I think, to me, these are the pertinent issues that should be confronting us when we get the environment right. When we de-risk the policy and the regulatory environment, money would come in. It doesn't matter where it is, it would come in. So I think I'll pause here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Frimpong. He makes key points that there are structural issues within the agricultural value chain that needs to be fixed. And then once you fix that, you can open the pathway for finance to come through. Let me speak to Madam Hamdiva. I think agric has lived before humans lived, right? If you look at the creation story, and it would probably go right into the future, right? So, what do you think are the opportunities that investors and financiers are missing when it comes to the agribusiness sector, right? There were a lot of risks that Doc has shared, but where do you think we are not getting it right in terms of opportunities? Despite the risk, there are opportunities. What are we missing?
Thank you, Dorcas, and good evening to you all. I think there are a lot of opportunities in agriculture. As Doc said, there are structural issues, yes, but for me, those who know me will tell you that I'll put money in agriculture any day, because I haven't seen a country in this world who is doing well and can't feed itself. And so the opportunity to even be able to produce, to feed ourselves, 30 million population is enough. If you look at the amount of money we use to import almost everything in this country that we eat. And so that's a big opportunity. The opportunity of fueling industrialization, so we do not become a country of producing raw material. It's a big opportunity. We have a very youthful population. We have an agrarian economy. I was reading a report somewhere. It says we have about 13.6 million hectares of arable land in Ghana, and just under 50% is under cultivation. We spend money to import chicken. So all of these are opportunities that we have to look at. Yes, indeed, there are structural issues, and I think we should begin to look at financing agriculture in a way that suits what works. And really, when you look at it in the value chain perspective, it works. So you need to aggregate. If you just give money to farmers to produce and nobody's aggregating it, it's a problem. If you give money to the aggregators and nobody's producing it, there will be nothing to aggregate. So you need to look at the entire value chain. And as a financier, if you cannot even invest across the value chain, find partners that will invest across the value chain with you. Because that's how we could make it work. Otherwise, look, we talk about post-harvest losses. It's there, but it's because we don't have the factories that can produce them. And actually, we don't produce enough. I have factories I've put in money that shut down for 6 months in this country. They can only produce for 3 months, 4 months when there is harvest, and after that, it's shut down. And who wants to put money in a company that runs 4 months in a year? So there are issues, but there are big opportunities. So I think as investors or as financiers, we have to do a lot more collaboration so that we can invest across the value chain, because certain finance doesn't go certain places. It's normal. That is why in the financial services industry, we have different players. So everybody has a role to play, but we have to work together so that somebody picks it up from where somebody left, so that we can invest across the value chain and get it to work.
Exactly. Someone picks off where someone leaves. Thank you. Madam Audrey, I think in recent times, the banking sector has come a little bit under fire with regards to the whole debt exchange, and bankers are not financing agribusiness, SMEs, right? How can we make commercial banking capital work for agribusiness? And what has Absa done or innovated to be able to make this possible? Please do remember to share a little bit about yourself. The conversation is getting interesting, so we are going right into it, but do remember to share a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Good afternoon to all of you. My name is Audrey Abakah, and I'm the Director of SME Banking and then Agency Banking and Partnerships at Absa Bank. And I've already started enjoying the conversation on agri-businesses or the agri-sector. You know, the agri-sector has gained a lot of attention, and there's so much conversations that have been had on this particular sector, because we all are aware and we know that the future of Ghana's prosperity lies within that sector. This is a known fact. And the actors in the ecosystem, there are many actors in the ecosystem, including the government, agencies, the financial institutions, the DFIs, and many others who have keen interest in this sector, because it is also the sector that creates the most jobs for this country. And when it comes to financing, it's one of also the conversations that have been had, you know, access to finance for SMEs, access to finance for agribusinesses. And the question is, what are the commercial banks within the country doing to support small and medium enterprises, to support the agri-sector? Now, personally, I see this sector growing, to be honest with you, and I wasn't surprised when the finance minister highlighted it in his budget as one of the sectors that had seen growth. And I think it's a good indicator that we are seeing some level of progress. Now, as a financial institution, the agri-sector is a focus sector for us. So across the financial industry, Absa is seen as one of the banks that is at the forefront of investing in agri-businesses. Now, when you talk about risk, Doctor talked about a couple of them. You see, the agri-sector and its ecosystem is huge. The risk largely sits with the primary agri, where, you know, the farmers would have to cultivate, they are the mercies of the weather, and all that. But we should also remember that within the ecosystem, there is the production bits, there is the aggregation, there is the processing, and even, you know, if you look at your restaurant, they are agribusinesses because they have access to market for these farmers. When they produce the tomatoes, the vegetables, where do they send them? To the restaurant, to the hotels, to the grocery shops. They are all access to markets, and they are part of the ecosystem. So we can't say that it is too much of a risky sector if we look at it from that perspective. Now, coming to what Absa has done, when it comes to funding, you see, you have to think beyond what you usually do if you really want to support the sector. And we have a desk. We have a very senior person who is our head of agri. And then also we noticed that we cannot support the sector alone unless we strategically partner. It is said that if you want to go far, you go with people. If you want to go very fast, then you do it alone. We are in a world that if you want to make an impact, you need to learn to collaborate. You need to learn to strategically work with some partners who have like-minded interest and vision like you. So over the years, in the past 3 years, we were exploring other ways, innovative ways that we can support the SME sector, especially agri and then women entrepreneurs. So we forged this partnership with MasterCard Foundation, and it's been a blessing, I must say that. Under the partnership, we are able to invest up to 11 million Ghana cedis into agri-businesses at 10% per annum. We are the first bank who came out with such an innovative solution. As I speak, we have been able to support SMEs, including agri-businesses, up to 153 million, and we are still counting. About 400 SMEs, including agri-businesses, have benefited from this innovative solution. We are able to give as low as 20,000. And for the agri sector, we also work through the outgrowers, because most of the farmers do not have formalized organizations or companies that may meet some of our requirements. And let us note that the financial sector is heavily regulated, so we cannot just get up and then be throwing money out. There should be some form of requirements to meet what the regulator expects from us. So if you have a business you haven't registered, obviously we cannot invest money into your company. But how do we support you anyway? We recognize that there are microfinance institutions who have some level of flexible regulatory requirements. The outgrowers are also there. So if we are able to lend to, let's say, a microfinance institution, that microfinance institution is able to also lend to these farmers within that locality. The rural banks, we are able to support them up to 11 million. And then the outgrowers, we are also able to support them, and they further support these farmers. So I want to say that there is such an innovative solution available. Sometimes, if you don't ask, you don't get to find.
If you don't ask, you don't get to...
Exactly. You don't get to know what is available in the markets, because we thought that we have done an extensive engagement on this, but there are quite a number of people in Ghana who have not heard about this innovative. But as business people, my expectation is that you have to do a lot of research, you have to do a lot of asking, you have to do a lot of finding, so that you can have access to the relevant information that you require, and then take advantage of the opportunities that are available to fund your businesses.
Thank you so much, Madam Audrey. Thank you so much for that. Absa is doing a lot. Please check them out. Let's go to Dr. Jahn. Can you share with us a little bit of what GIZ is doing to support the agribusiness sector with innovative financing? I think we've heard about We Do already, which is very exciting. Are there any other schemes that you have on board to support agribusinesses?
Yeah, thank you. Well, We Do is really, I think, also for German Development Corporation, very special endeavor, I would say. Here in the country, well, I also must say I'm only here since January this year, and I'm not considering myself an expert here in understanding the agricultural sector at all, at large. Now from GIZ, we have several activities in the agricultural sector. We have one larger program that is actually covering with one area where there was a lot of training on financial literacy and also investment readiness for, well, basically MSMEs and smallholder farmers with outgrower screen.
Nationwide stakeholder consultation. And there were 4 takeaways that came out of that report. One is that we need to increase production, because, as Madam said, if you have a factory but you don't have enough produce, it's a waste of money. And therefore, where to tackle is the SMEs or the MSMEs. And then also one thing that we are losing in all of this conversation is what is the role of commercial farmers? Because if you have commercial farmers playing within that ecosystem, as we found out in Kenya with VegPro, they do everything. And then you can get a lot of outgrowers going with them. So we are not putting away the SMEs. No. But they also work. So in that case, you can control standards, you can control, a lot of practices, because they can benefit from the research work that, the bigger one is doing. That's one. Number 2 has to be reforming.
Doc, let me get you to 2.
Okay.
The second
GCX,
point. Yeah.
And making GCX the place where whatever you produce, there could be a guaranteed price. They buy from you, and then they can keep the stuff, and then they can trade, so that you don't have to get silos and buy during the peak season and hold it for 9 months. It makes absolutely no sense. And the third, when you start me, you don't stop. So I'll stop for now and let the others go.
Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you so much. I'll come to Madame Audrey. One thing, maybe from the banking sector perspective, in terms of one thing that would be changed to spur on innovative financing there for agribusiness.
So when it comes to the agri-financing, at least we have realized that the de-risking tools are working. Banks, we need that collaboration to be able to de-risk the risk that we face where we have to invest in that sector. Unfortunately, some of the organizations that can provide that de-risking tool, their cost is so high. Okay, so my expectation is that if they truly want to support the sector, some of the instruments that are designed, the cost to it should be very, very minimal. Because eventually we get it passed on to the client. Okay, but if you call yourself a developing partner and you really want to support, I don't think that you have to be overly commercial.
Wow. Don't be overly commercial. I think, no, I'll come to you last. Dr. Jahn, one thing that development, she just mentioned development partners and agency. Where do you think GIZ, the likes of GIZ, can work to spur on innovative financing in the agribusiness space? Just one thing you can really do to achieve that.
Well, definitely there's not one thing that is enough to do, but let's put it that way. I think collaboration is something that is key, and we have to stop talking about it and really doing it. The second one is, it was also already mentioned, there are already good examples. We know what works. Also for MSMEs, we even heard today also some of that. Focus on that, what is working already, and strengthening that, and get rid of those things, what we did already as business as usual in the past years, and really coming up with new instruments. And then again, I think key is their collaboration, and talking about blended finance mechanism, bringing private capital and donor capital, also philanthropic capital together, and see how we can de-risk and make ticket sizes what are needed really available, and not always complaining that the ticket sizes are too small and too costly. If this is what is needed, we have to find a way. It was a bit more than one, but that's what's needed. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. More than one said get rid of things that are not working. Hamdiva, what one thing is not working, and what should we get rid of?
We should get rid of the perceived risk in agriculture.
Thank you.
There is risk everywhere. You just have to find a way of mitigating it. So Audrey said the risk every time. Collaborate. Like I said, you have to work on a value chain. Everybody has a role to play. So let's collaborate. We have done a lot of collaboration with people. We've put almost about 30 million in agriculture production, and we didn't lose money because we produce for industry, and we're very clear. There were NGOs in there working with the farmers on good agricultural practices. We work with the researchers to continuously research and give us improved variety, because that's one of the biggest challenges we have. Productivity is low, Farmers don't make money, so, you give them loans, they are unable to pay, and then you say it's risk because you are not helping the farmer. So, let's look at it in a holistic way. The risk, collaborate, let's get it done because it can be done.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'll give my panelists just one assignment. I think they're fantastic brains here.